Our film is a journey through time and space to uncover just a few of the Aliyah paths of Bogrei Habonim-Dror, whose leadership and participation in community activities and projects in Israel certainly justify our 90-year-old motto, Al tikra banayich, ela bonayich. Call us not your children, but rather your builders. We were curious to hear what some Bogrim felt about the impact Habonim has had on their life choices. When you first walked into Habonim, you walked through the doors and you immediately knew who you were and where you belonged.
The moment was two weeks long, and it was the first camp that I was sent to by my father, who at the age of 11, my being 11 years old, he decided that I needed something Jewish. So he sent me to a Habonim camp. The moment that I met this particular entourage of people, of programs, of what it meant to be Jewish, I knew that I was in the right place.
From Habonim and that very interesting and peculiar sort of Judaism that came out of Habonim, with of course Israel in the background as an important part of what we were doing. So yes, it had an enormous effect on me.
Choosing to come to Israel and להגשים את הערכים, that's that's a movement way. Either in the kibbutz or wherever you went to, living in the cities and being a part of creating and shaping the Israeli society, I find this is what Zionism is for me.
We came out of here feeling that we were pioneers, and what was kibbutz all about, of course? Kibbutz was all about agriculture and work and getting one's hands dirty in the soil. And here suddenly we're now faced with an industry, albeit a fledgling industry at that time, but nevertheless, what did this mean?
Then I decided that if I stay on in England, what have I done? There's really no point in it. The world had changed after the war. We had to build a better and newer world. And I saw the idea of going to a kibbutz in Israel as a possibility, as an architect, planner, to design a better world. It was as simple as that.
It's hard to know whether Habonim attracts a certain sort of person who then goes on to follow that line, or whether Habonim does the change. So I think there is something that when you've done Hadracha, that there is a basic there, and it does want to make you lead. I know that in Glasgow, most of the people who are involved in communal matters are people who came through Habonim.
One of the things that Habonim always did, even when you were ludicrously too young to be able to take leadership roles, is just, if there's a job that needs doing, you just do it.
It all goes back to Hadracha that we did all those years ago. And I think you just...
Really?
Yes, absolutely. And people would come and say things to me, why do you do that? Or how did you get that idea? And I'd say, well, I don't know, that's just the way you do things.
Hadracha generally gives you ideas of how to plan things, how to put ideas into context and to plan them and to put it over to other people.
It was the group that mattered. It was what you could do together as a group, what you could create. That was what mattered.
It's been with me all my life. I think Habonim does something to people. It definitely does.
Being in the movement, growing up in the movement, it shapes the person you are, and it's who you are for the rest of your life.
We packed our film kit and hit the road to meet Chaverim and learn more. Traditionally, Habonim targeted the kibbutzim as its highest ideological goal, and we all grew up on the stories of those brave young chalutzim, pre-state and in the early days, who cleared rocks and swamps lived in tents and built watchtowers to closely guard their meshek.
והושיטי יד אחת קדימה.
מה זה? מה זה?
ששש, אל תצעקי.
We headed for Kibbutz Bet Ha'emek to chat with architect Freddie Kahana about his own aliyah.
Then I became a skier of the movement, and I came to Israel. Now, what you said was it all came together, partly because of my studies, my belonging to Habonim, my design work as an architectural student in kibbutz planning, and my intention, if you like, or my idea that I was able to design and plan a community and being part of it, which was something quite unique and interesting. And that's how it all came together.
Here is the concept diagram Freddie drew to visualize the planning of his kibbutz.
The planning of kibbutzim, and there are 270 kibbutzim in the country after all, is unique because it integrates the social factors, housing and education and public buildings and you name it, together with production, cowsheds, poultry and so on, into one community unit, which sits in the middle of fields and orchards and so on. And there's no such thing really anywhere else in the world. Tabenkin, who was one of the instigators of this, said, "We are building here neither a village or a city, building a new type of human existence, collective and cooperative, neither village nor city."
Intrigued by this view of the kibbutz as a unique phenomenon in the world, we headed for Kibbutz Amiad to learn more. We talked to Barry Coleman, whose aliyah in the 60s, still with a traditional Chalutzik focus, encountered kibbutz life already in flux. The changes elicited questions about the role of a new Oleh from Habonim.
We saw ourselves as pioneers. Many of us wanted to start our own kibbutz, what was called Hitshashvut. But of course, the kibbutz movement suggested quite strongly that the place for us to be was to reinforce the previous garin that had come from the movement at Kibbutz Amiad. And here suddenly we're now faced with an industry, albeit a fledgling industry at that time, and this was in a sense Habonim's achievement within Amiad of nurturing and creating this mifal and setting it on the road that it's been on and where it is today. Again, the ideology moves along with it. That is to say, there was the question of hired workers, the question of, whoops, I'm in an industry, I'm not out in the fields and I'm not on the tractor. And we sort of live along with these changes as we go along.
Things were changing, and Bogrei Habonim were finding new ways to contribute to this country, both within and outside the kibbutzim. Back in the UK, the movement in the 80s was also undergoing fundamental changes, with the merging of Habonim-Dror and a new broader definition of movement ideals. Many of our young Bogrim began joining forces with their sister movements in Israel and internationally to set up a new style of communal entity no longer based on agriculture but targeting community service, mostly educational, in urban settings around Israel. For James, the idea of kibbutz is still alive and breathing. What they need now, he says, is to adapt to modern market conditions.
לפני חצי שנה עברנו לחיות ביחד בבניין, אבל לפני זה בערך 15 שנה בנינו את הקיבוץ, כשגרנו בדירות שכורות, בפיזור כאן בכל השכונה. עכשיו, כשאני חושב אחורה, אני לא יכול להאמין שהצלחנו 15 שנים לבנות קיבוץ בלי בית.
כל המשכורות של החברים, העוסקים בעיקר בפרויקטים חינוכיים בקהילה, מגיעות לקופה אחת, והכסף מחולק לפי קריטריונים שעליהם החליטו חברי הקיבוץ. וזה הדבר הכי קרוב כאן לקיבוץ המסורתי. מה הדבק שמחבר אתכם?
קודם כל, אני חושב שהמשימתיות והחלוציות, כאן יש אנשים שמאמינים באדם.
So, today's Bogrei Habonim are taking on pioneering challenges in their communities in many different fields. One of our more recent Olim is Mary, a professor in the medical field with proven professional notches under her belt, particularly in fighting child obesity in the UK. Let's listen to what prompted her and her husband Mike, also a professor and world expert in his field of environmental science, to up and leave for Israel.
What we do, yes, it earns a salary, yes, it is, we've been able to raise a family, but we also feel that it contributes to society. And I do environmental science, which I like to think is more than just earning money.
I received a phone call last November, a year ago, asking me if I would take up the position of Professor of Public Health. It only took a few minutes reflection to realise that this is what I really wanted to do with the rest of my career. And I'm absolutely delighted to be making Aliyah again. I'm Mary Rudolph. I'm Professor of Public Health at the Faculty of Medicine in the Galil. We're sitting in the Child Development Centre of Ziv Hospital. Ziv Hospital is the local hospital for the Tzfat area, and the Child Development Centre serves children from across the region, mainly on the east of the Galil. The Galil is in the north of Israel, and it's really the most disadvantaged region of the country. The infant mortality rates are higher here than they are in the centre of Israel. Every mark of health is worse. For example, diabetes and obesity. There's more diabetes and obesity in this area of the country. The Faculty of Medicine in the Galil was set up with the political vision that placing a medical school in the region would bring about health and prosperity to the region, or will contribute to health and prosperity in the region. Our research programme, which we call Raphael, is focused on improving health across the Galil. What we do is, with the help of community leaders, we select 5 projects each year that we believe have real promise. We work with them over the course of a year to help them shape the project, pilot it and evaluate it. We hope will be translated to the benefit of others elsewhere. I feel we're really on the way to making the dream of this medical school to make a difference in the Galil come true.
One of the things that Habonim teaches you is caring for society, that it is important to do something that is actually makes a difference in some small way or other. And I like to think that studying environmental science, teaching students about environmental science, is a way about caring for society, especially with what is going on at the moment, where we have climate change, where we have environmental change, and where some of the things that I know about, I can teach and I can talk to people about, and maybe it will make some difference in the long run. Well, one of the special things you do when you get the chance to work like this is going out to take samples. Starting from midday until 2 o'clock in the morning, taking samples, collecting the samples, putting them in bottles, preserving them if they need preserving, and then bringing them back to the port. You look at some data, you spend a long time trying to make certain it works, that it measures what it should be measuring, and then you run the results, and then you plot them out, and you see a pattern that nobody else has seen before. And then you try to understand what that pattern means. When it works, you've understood something about how this planet works that nobody else has seen before. That's very special.
We cast our net wider to discover some less orthodox and more creative engagements of our Bogrim in community welfare. Menachem, ex-Dror, and Charlie, ex-Australian Habonim, don a clown's garb and grin to go and entertain hospital patients, while Michal and Frank, ex-UK Habonim, put on puppet shows using their own home-crafted glove puppets. The Israeli Clown School, itself a global pioneering enterprise, was started by another of our Bogrim, Graham, formerly of Dror in the UK. We called on Judy, known countrywide for her love of horses and her riding therapy initiative. She took us to visit a very special village where she herself lived for about 10 years and where she set up her riding therapy unit. Kishurit operates on the same principles as a kibbutz, as a cooperative community with common social services.
קישורית היא בית לכל החיים לאנשים עם צרכים מיוחדים. כאן הם חיים את כל מעגל חייהם ביחד וכל אחד לחוד. קישורית הוקמה על אדמות קיבוץ קישור. חבריה, ביחד עם חברי הקיבוץ, מהווים קהילה שיזורית. מרכזי התעסוקה וענפי הקיבוץ נבנו כדי לתת לחברים הכשרה מקצועית ולאפשר לכל אחד מהם למצוא תעסוקה ההולמת את כישוריו. גם העבודה בעורבה של קישורית דורשת מהחברים ללמוד ולפתח בעצמם אחריות ורגישות רבה.
אני חושבת שגם הם מבינים את האחריות שיש להם. כי הסוס הרגע שמביאים אותו מהטבע, הוא תלוי בנו לכל הדברים שהוא מקבל. אחד הדברים המאוד חיוביים של רכיבה. אם מבקשים בצורה נכונה מהסוס להתחיל ללכת, והסוס באמת מתחיל ללכת, אז אתה מיד מקבל את הפידבק שהצלחת. וזה אחד הדברים המאוד מאוד חשובים. סוסים מתקשרים מאוד בקלות לאנשים שמתנהגים אליהם יפה.
Back in the kibbutz environment, we drove back to Amiad to hear what Barry had to say about his experiences in the newer kibbutz direction of industrial development.
In 1946, a unit of the Palmach was sent here to guard the road. And what they found was rocks and no water. No water. That's how Amiad started. They had to, with a cart and a horse, bring water from Rosh Pinon. Today, we're providing clean water throughout the world. Now, Amiad, as maybe other kibbutzim, could have started a factory producing plates or producing I don't know what. But no, we're producing clean water. And I think there's a sense of pride that has accompanied us through the years in the work that we're doing.
Other kibbutzim are also answering today's clean technology challenges. Kfar Hanassi, for example, with their valve production. At Beta Emek, the biological industries plant is a stem cell culture pioneer. In fact, all the Habonim kibbutzim in the north of Israel are actively participating in schemes to educate about and protect the environment.
מהפכת המחזור שהתחילה במועצה האזורית הגליל העליון לפני כמעט עשור, העלתה הילוך בשנה האחרונה, ונחנכה מערכת חדשנית ברמה עולמית לטיפול מקומי בפסולת האורגנית. על מנת לגייס את כל האוכלוסייה למהלך מורכב ומשנה תודעה, גויסו והוכשרו צוות מדריכים מהקהילה המקומית, שעוברים מבית לבית, מסבירים ומדריכים איך להפריד את הפסולת.
In Habonim, education is always a central issue. Let's glimpse some new educational trends in action at Beta Emek's Siach Democratic School. Previously at Klil, Siach was re-established at Kibbutz Beta Emek. It's part of a range of alternative schools currently gaining in popularity in Israel. Moving down the coast to Sdot Yam, where Mike was waiting for us at his marine research lab, we asked him how he feels about teaching in a university environment.
Teaching is an important part of what I do, and I really enjoy it. And what I wanted to do was to teach the younger generation about the passion I have for the Eastern Mediterranean, why it's so special, what is so special about that system, what is special about the water in Israel and some of the issues of climate change and environmental change.
Back at Kibbutz Mishal in Nazareth, Chaverim are gathering funds and support for a new style of school, offering hands-on experience of the environment and eco-friendly science.
היום בתי ספר צריכים לתת מענה אחר לילדים, כזה שיותר מתכתב עם חיים.
ללמוד מדעים כמו שכדאי ללמוד מדעים בשנת 2008. ילדים שעובדים מתוך סקרנות, מתוך יצירתיות, ובעצמם חוקרים ומגלים את הדברים.
משחקים, צעצועים, קוביות, אפשר להרכיב שם דברים, אפשר לצייר שם.
Education is indeed top priority for many of our Bogrei Tnuah in community and intercommunity settings. Benji has been involved in the challenges of reaching out to Bedouin youth for whom English learning is a vital instrument of individual and community empowerment. For him, it's a two-way street of mutual teaching.
The purpose of the program at Ben Gurion University with the Bedouin was to prepare them to compete with Jewish society in the university at undergraduate level. I went to visit every single one of my pupils in their homes, meet their family, impress upon the parents the necessity for getting updated and for having computers, when it wasn't unknown for those people living in the Pzura, in the diaspora, in other words, in unrecognized villages, that they didn't even have electricity at home. In other words, that they were running a computer at home on a generator. One day I was mapping one of the unregistered villages, and I saw a little girl, a small woman with two children, quite literally walking through the desert in the direction that I was. And she came up to me when I stopped beside her. She said, "I know you. You were our English teacher at Ben Gurion University." And she was now the only local Bedouin teacher in the unregistered village where she was teaching.
So our Bogrim are often working to bridge inter-community and intercultural gaps in Israel. We retraced our steps northward to Haifa, into the busy core of the city and through the doors of the Bet HaGeffen Multicultural Centre and home of the English Haifa Theatre to seek out Clive Noble, our music man, forever wrapped in chords, musical chords, electronic chords.
Vocal chords?
Oh, and vocal chords,
yes,
yeah,
indeed.
of course.
Yeah.
Tell us about your theatre connection.
My theatre connection started when I was quite young, at the age of about 14. At school we had an amazing English teacher, a guy called Michael Croft, who went on to found the National Youth Theatre of Great Britain. He brought Shakespeare to life. It was a good experience, and that's lingered on, but more on the technical side rather than on the acting side. I get scared on stage. I don't go on stage. Well, I do when I'm playing my guitar, but apart from that, no. I'm more involved on the technical lights and sound.
The Haifa English Theatre, like a microcosm of the city, includes a cultural mix of actors and managers.
Oh, that's the dress. I knew you looked different somehow. Give the boy a wolf cub badge.
I asked Clive about his choice, together with his wife Wendy, Bogeret Habonim, to come and live in the mixed city of Haifa and to set up the theatre there.
We love the thought of Haifa, the sea, the whole environment, but of course other things turned out as well. It is multicultural. There's the Christian Arabs, there's the Muslim Arabs, there's the Jews, there's the Baha'is, there's the Druzim. It's everything, and everyone works together, everyone does things together.
Indeed, Bogrei Habonim-Dror are influential partners in Israel's evolving cultural network, helping to bond its fabric, adapt and change its texture, linking existing elements and introducing new threads.
Oh, welcome to Satan with all of my heart.
One such addition and link, introducing the new thread of Anglo-Saxon folk culture into the Israeli music scene, was provided by the Vinograds. It all started at Kibbutz Machanaim. Menachem and Yehudit, from 1976, the Habonim-Dror couple changed our world with their gift of an Anglo-Saxon Mimuna, the Jacob's Ladder Folk Festival. Let's hear what Yehudit and Menachem have to say about the sources and power of the folk music they brought us.
באנו בשביל לשנות עולם, בשביל תיקון עולם, בשביל לשנות סדרי עולם. הפולק מיוזיק משנה סדר עולם. המוזיקה לוקחת אותך למקום אחר. היא מוציאה אותך מעצמך, היא שמה אותך במקומות שאתה יכול להיות מישהו אחר, משהו אידיאלי, שלא כל יום, שאתה לא חי כל יום. אתה יכול לחשוב על קטע מוזיקה, וזה נותן לך השראה למשהו, עושה אותך אולי יותר טוב, אולי יותר הרפתקני. זה נותן לך, זה בא מהמילה מוזה, זה נותן לך את המוזה, להיות משהו עילי, משהו יותר נכון, יותר טוב, יותר גבוה.
זה היה בגלל געגוע. התגעגענו למוזיקה ולשירים ששמענו וששרנו, שהיינו באנגליה בתנועות נוער. הרי הפסטיבל הוא רב גילאי, באים מכל הגילאים, מתינוקות עד ותיקים, הפנסיונרים. אם אנשים שומעים משהו שמוכר להם, אז בדרך כלל זה מרגש אותם. ובאופן מיוחד אם הם יושבים יחד ושרים. מה שקורה בין המופעים בפסטיבל, אנשים יושבים בלובי המלון ומנגנים ושרים שירים שהם שרו בשנות ה-60, ב-70, ב-80, והם מרגישים מאוד טוב עם זה.
We're back in the Galilee with two of the many Bogrim who became professional artists. The work of local artists is displayed periodically at Kfar Hanassi, the home of Marquis Lawrence Markison, who has exhibited his work in Israel and abroad. Born in Glasgow in 1933 and came to live at Kfar Hanassi in 1956. Another artist and Bogeret Habonim is Steffa Rice, who now has studios in Sfat and in Tel Aviv, as well as exhibiting internationally. On our way back towards the centre of the country, we stopped off at one of Felicity's ceramic workshops and asked her how it all began.
When my mother got involved in ceramics, I went with a couple of people from the movement down to the East End of London, and we used to spend our holidays there, and I began to realise that ceramics was something I wanted to do. I worked on Mavur Chama permanently as a potter, with the odds here and there working in the kitchen, toriniot, or when they needed a fill-in or whatever it was. And ceramics was my life. I mean, I studied at Betzalel, and I came with all my stuff from England and set up the studio there. And so when Effie, after he did Shlichut, decided that he wanted something a bit more interesting other than working in the fields, I said to him that if we go to town, the one thing I have to have is a studio. So all my pitzuim from leaving Kibbutz Mavur Chama bought 5 wheels. So the kiln was mine anyhow because I came on Aliyah with it. The buckets were mine because I came on Aliyah with the buckets. I don't class myself as an artist. I class myself as a craftsman. And basically I chose more ceramics because I didn't have to explain myself. One of the things that I like is you make something that's domestic. It can be used in an artistic way because it just looks nice, it feels nice, and it's functional. I didn't want to go into sculpture in that way where I have to explain why I've done my work or what my work means. And domestic ware and repetition ceramics is comfortable and pleasant and really fun to make. I'm blessed with some very fabulous classes. Each class has got its own character. And a lot of working with all my students. First of all, I learn a lot from them as me teaching them. And the relationships within the class, how things develop between one another and how they develop from one another and how they learn from one another is very comforting, and in a lot of ways people come because they think it's better than a psychologist.
Many of our Bogrim made challenging career changes when they came to live in Israel. One was Stephen. We asked him about his new chosen path.
I never saw myself as a leader wanting to take people out and tell them all about, especially not to tell people who live here about what there is on their own doorstep. But I do it and I love it. I love telling people about this wonderful country, and I now do it professionally. I'm a perfectionist, and when I drop the itinerary, I want to know exactly where we're going, time-wise, where we're going to be, what we're going to do, what we're going to see. And that's the way I do it. I love taking people to the Golan. I have an affinity to the Golan. Maybe it's because of Mavochama, I don't know, and time spent there, but I love going to the Golan. The reality is I'll take people anywhere around the country, and if I, as I said earlier, if I've not been or I've not guided there, I'll go back and visit it and get to. I know the stories, but sometimes it's just to know the place.
After joining Stephen, we tagged along with Danny, tour guiding at many locations around Israel, including Hamat-Gader, where the hot spring resort is partly managed by Bogrei UK Habonim from Kibbutz Mavochama.
Down below in the valley is a place called El Chama, today in Hebrew called Hamat-Gader. These are ancient hot springs dating back for 2,000 years. At the time of the Romans, they had a beautiful hot spring resort just down there in the valley, which was covered over by 4 meters of earth. And when archaeologists came and rediscovered it, entire buildings were found intact.
In the Negev desert, Danny introduced us to his favorite animal.
This is a really fascinating animal, very laid back and in tune with the desert around it. It's a very large animal, which is actually not the best thing to be if you're in the desert with the sun shining on you.
Eventually, Danny's trail led us back to the Mediterranean shore, not far from Mike's research domain, at none other than the Habonim beach.
On Israel's shores, we have a real variety of different landscape along the shoreline. Even though the shoreline is very flat and straight, we still see little coves like this one here with a variety of shells. And I'm standing now on a particular spot with a whole collection of different shells, of different animals that have washed up from the sea, and one of these was even used to make dye in ancient times.
We're signing off with young Habonim-Dror Chaverim on Shnat Hachshara, for many their first experience of Israel. They're preparing to continue our wonderful tradition of engagement in Israeli life. We did it our way. They, in turn, will do it their way.
Us, like, we do everything together, we put it by everyone, like there's no divide about like what we came with.
Another amazing thing about Kuppah is like it really gives you a space to do everything together, but also you're not restricted by it. Like people go and do their own thing, like Jake went to Tel Aviv on his own, people go see their family, like you actually have autonomy over the money you spend, and like it's constant conversations, and it makes the relationships between the Kfutzah so much more important because we rely on the trust within each other that someone's not going to go and buy 10 shawarmas in one night.
We've never had so little money but felt so rich.
It was basically a big realization for us all that Habo is like the movement that raised us, and like it got us to be the people who we are, and that now they needed us and we were going to be there to be the people that they needed because they were once there for us. And I think it's amazing that we can give back, but also I didn't realize then that how much the movement would then give to me from coming, because I thought I'm coming and I'm doing this for the movement, but actually this has like been the best decision of my life, and it's been like ups and downs, but like the ups are the highest ups in your entire life, and like there are no regrets of me coming here, and I'm just so happy I did it.
I really learned how to like accept who I am and build up friendships, and how I need to care for other people and realise how people can care for me, and I cannot imagine my life without my friends. If you don't have a huge social circle, Shanat is the perfect place to meet people with, and it's just the most amazing experience to develop new friends.
Perhaps the shores at Habonim are as good a point as any to break our journey, but there is much more. So many more stories to tell of the engagement of Habonim-Dror Bogrim contributing to this country. Just look around the room. All of you are involved one way or another in making this country work. Wherever you look in Israeli society, there is a mosaic of Habonim and Dror at work.